back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's been a while since I've reported on the Gibson Demo Shop, but there's a couple of real bangers that we need to talk about. No, I do not get paid by Gibson to talk about this. It's just exciting to me to see all these weird things that show up. So lately they've been updating every Tuesday, sometimes even a second batch on Thursday, and I always seem to catch them 40 minutes after they listed, so all the good stuff's already gone. So that's why we haven't had, any unboxing of this stuff. But let's see, what did they list this week? We got a couple of interesting single pickup Les Pauls here. Alright, so this modified one, they just put kind of a ugly creamed cover over it. The cream P90 pickup covers, they look okay on like a ES295. Maybe if they creamed this pick guard out, it would look better. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that, but that'd be easy enough to swap back. I love the wood grain that they have going on back here though. That makes that example nice. But with 2015 specs, you either like them or you don't. But it looks like they have upgraded the nut to, ooh, is that a thing? It's like they've replaced the nut with a slightly smaller one, so it's a regular string spaced here, but you'll have some additional edge to the fretboard? That's the first time I've seen them do that. That's kind of interesting. But you get your Les Paul 100 silkscreen on here, and it looks like they even went as far as taking some different tuners on this one. But I'm really glad I took a second to look at this because, wow, I'd never realized that you could put a different spaced nut on one of these things. I'm not sure if that would make it more comfortable to play for people who prefer the smaller necks or not. Well, this one's listed at $1,299, more than I would suggest to pay. But take a look at this Les Paul CM. This is another thing they've been doing a lot. Colored pickup rings. I wonder if they just found these in a stash somewhere for a model that never ended up happening, or if they're just kind of experimenting with them here to see if they would fit on a model or like get people's opinions. I've seen the blue ones, I've seen the red ones, I think we've seen an orange one before too maybe. But the Les Paul CM is a great guitar. It's one of those ones that's been going up in value just because, it's kind of become a cult classic. Basically just a thinner Les Paul that still has a maple top and has one pickup. $8.99, I can see it selling. That's about top value for one of those though. That's not the worst price I've ever seen for one of these hot pink ones. Still think back to that day. Musician's Friend was blowing these things out. If I remember correctly, it was for $1,300, and I didn't get there fast enough. I placed my order, but then they canceled it saying they were out of stock. Otherwise, yes, you could have checked out a video for one of these things. They're so strange. It was a very experimental time in Gibson history. You've got no pickup rings. They secured from the back, and I still want to check one of those things out in person. And then they get the access heel joint right here. Not exactly the all access, but something modified that looks very similar. And then you get all the fancy dip switches, depending on what circuit is in this particular one. I've just never been a fan of the fade finishes. I know there's some guys that like them, and you can still get these on like the Epiphone Les Paul Moderns, which are fantastic guitars for the money. But if you can get a good deal on one of these high performance ones, I'd be willing to bet these are probably actually alright guitars. I mean, you even have locking tuners. It looks like they're even giving you the beautiful case. They're not showing it to you, but it's this one, the teardrop shape. I've always wanted to check one of those things out too. So these guys want $1,899. That is very fair. A regular Les Paul Modern today is about $1,000 more than that. And most people on the used market want way too much for them. Yeah, like here's a guy that wants $4,000, a couple of them. A couple of used ones for $26, $27, but you don't see too many of these on the market. So at $18.99, I would label that as a pretty good deal if you like the high performance specs. But that's pretty much all that's left from this week. There's a couple of sold ones that I want to talk about, but these things were listed last week. And I knew it'd be kind of controversial. They listed some new prototypes. This is the Gibson Murphy Lab 1959 ES335 heavy aged, and we have the 1961 335 heavy aged. So what they're saying is for the whole Murphy Lab division, these are the first ES335s that were completed. Now, in my opinion, I don't like the way this one looks. I mean, all the wear spots are in the correct areas. It's just, it doesn't necessarily speak to me, this particular example. Neither does this one. But I've seen some real cracking, really good examples coming from the Murphy Labs. I do really like the headstock on this one, though. That looks pretty legit. I just really wish they would work on, something that looks a little bit more special than this proto right here. I think that's fine for demo and mod, but prototype I feel should be a little bit more special than that. They at least dress it up by putting this tape on the outside of the case that has Cesar's signature. And I think that's JC's signature right there as well. And they also have Tom Murphy sign the COA booklet, so they at least treat you right there. And this one has a golden case. But their firm price is $19,499. Gone are the days of Gibson listing the prototypes for list price. A regular Murphy Labs heavy-aged 61 style is $7,799, and one of the natural 59s is $9,299. So they're asking a huge premium for this one, and about double for this one. Personally, I think these things could bring about $15,000 in the current market, because at this point in time, we don't know if Murphy Lab is going to stick around, how popular it's going to be with the market. I mean, so far, it seems to be good. People are really liking what's coming out. I haven't had a chance to grab one of these things yet, but if this becomes like the new custom shop, like when the custom shop came out in late 93, and now those early examples are highly collectible, 20, 30 years down the road, yeah, these things are definitely going to be very valuable. I'll be interested to see what other prototypes come up of these, because that's the other thing. There's so many offerings from here. Like, I could see if they did the prototypes of the Les Pauls, those things will sell for 20 grand. That'll be easy. There's a lot more Les Paul collectors than there are ES335s. All very popular guitars, but they certainly do have just tons and tons of guitars. I mean, just look at all these right here. This is all what you can order from the Murphy Labs division. I really like the look of this 335 Watermelon Red, though. So we'll have to watch to see how long it takes for these things to sell, and if they ever show up back on the market, because I doubt we'll get any other prototypes listed until these ones are gone. And they've been live for about 10 days now. This one right here has kind of an interesting story. So this is a basic standard model. You can buy this like at Sweetwater brand new today, but you're gonna notice your toggle switch is right here instead of right here. So I had quite a few people messaging me about they purchased one of these brand new from a shop and this is what they sent. They wanted to know, is this like some factory error or should I send it back? Because the toggle switch is not where it's supposed to be. So apparently there was like a run in Japan that this was done for them in a separate location, but then a few of them accidentally got shipped to other stores because the shops that were sending these out were just as confused as the people who had ordered them. And this one just had some sort of a blemish, that's why it stayed put. I don't think these are necessarily worth more, but they have a little bit more of a story behind them. I kind of like the toggle switch being down there because I like the Pauls, and that's where they are. But I'm sure most people would probably prefer it on the upper bouts. I think this is technically a less desirable version because, I mean, look at it. You actually have less of a route on this one. So here's what a regular one looks like. You've got one up on the corner. And you also have that plate. Whereas these guys, you have less routing out of the body, and this looks larger. So they're going to have completely different routes. So I'm sure somebody will say, oh, that's going to affect the tone a whole bunch. But if they route more out here, it's probably similar amounts of wood. I would argue this one probably has just a little bit more, but it makes it different. It makes it different. Then if you'd rather not be different, they also have one right here. That's kind of funny to see. So this one's $7.99 and this one's $8.99. Even Gibson knows these ones are going to be more desirable. And that pretty much wraps it up for everything that you can still buy yet today. But, oh man, I'm so sad that I missed a couple of these. This one right here, I am 100% sure this started life as a Captain Kirk Douglas SG, because there's nothing else from Gibson USA that's looked like this that would have a serial number that late into 2020. So this had to have started life as that, and they just modified it to only give it like regular electronics and 2 pickups. This was a steal and a half. This thing sold, once again, within 40 minutes. Because it was gone before I even got to it. $1,799 for a guitar that's been selling on the used market for about $3,000. That was a great deal for someone jealous of that buy. This was also another good deal if you were in the market for a regular 50 standard gold top. But this one, it broke my heart. I was really, really looking forward to this because this is a custom color, pewter metallic. on one of the Les Paul specials. And I have not done a review on an original collection Les Paul special yet. I've had the prototypes, but there's got to be an interesting story behind this one. Like, was it a custom finish that they were dabbling with? I mean, look at that. It just says Les Paul. Man, I wish I could have got this. Because maybe somebody was finishing the Dave Mustaine guitars, and they didn't realize that they still had that paint loaded in the gun. Obviously, I have no idea how any of that works or if that's even possible, and they just accidentally sprayed this, and they're like, crap. So then they just had to finish it. I'm sure there's an interesting story behind it. But they had teased this one on April 11th on their Instagram, and you can tell it's got a bit of a burst going on to it as well. You can't really tell that from these photos unless you know that you're looking for it. I thought for sure this was going to be a custom shop. I thought it was going to be like $3,000 plus. But when I saw $1,499, no! This would have been a great review and demo. I just wish I would have been fast enough. Who knows though, maybe we'll see these in 2022. And this was just like an experimental prototype oopsie one-off type thing. Because so far we only have the cherry color, which is kind of boring, and we've got the TV yellow, which is nice. It's nice, it's vintage looking, you can see them here, but I want something a little bit more modern on the vintage guitars as well. So hopefully we see that in the future. And the last thing, I missed another 7-string. Gibson, you're selling your 7-strings way too low. This is at least a $2,500 guitar. I think this is the third one that I've missed. Not necessarily a Les Paul Classic, but there's been a few different body styles. Somebody got a steal of a deal on this. I really want to do a review of a 7-string Les Paul because it's just so goofy looking. I mean, what is not to love and hate about this headstock? Oh, 4 on a side, and yeah, that's so beautifully ugly. And this one was made in 2014. Okay, well, I guess it had a little bit of a crack down here. But that looks like it's just in the finish and likely going right along where the maple cap ends. But I think that pretty much wraps up my remorse and lamenting over losing some really cool guitars because I wasn't on my computer 40 minutes earlier. So, troglodytes, thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.